Hello and welcome to the PvA Nightly Rundown. I'm your host, Luke Croft, bringing you all of the hottest gaming news that you may have missed throughout the day so that you don't look like a fucking idiot at the water cooler tomorrow. I hope everybody had a great Monday. I was back at work today following a week of vacation. So, as you can imagine, very difficult time for your boy, Luke Croft. I was really struggling, really struggling, man. Oh man, which I was shocked. So I peeked my inbox a couple days ago just because I was like, what am I going to be walking back into? And then I remembered I'm not all that important, right? And so I had close to 200, but a lot of them were just things I could instantly delete. And so only took me about an hour to catch up on my email, which is awesome. So for those of you that don't know, I work as a marketing manager at a local marketing firm. I've got about 20 separate clients, and some of them more needy than others. And I apologize. I'm looking for my cord so I can plug my head, but I do not see it anywhere around here. But that's no big deal. Anyway, so luckily I had given some people a heads up that I was going to be out, and so they knew not really to try to reach out to me. So sent a bunch of stuff out today, and so I feel like I'm caught up. It only took me a day to get caught up, so that's good. Got to go back in to the office tomorrow, which will be a struggle. I work from home every day but Tuesday, so I'm going into the office tomorrow, which means I have to wake up like 5 o'clock. Just water in the red solo cup tonight also, guys. We actually have quite a bit of news. Well, not quite a bit of news. We only really have 5 stories on the list today, but some bigger stories that I definitely want to hit on here. And I realize now that I forgot to paste a link in here to one of these stories. So let me grab that real quick. But yes, a couple bigger items on the list tonight. Not sure what I'm gonna play after the stream. I mean, after the show. I'm starting to feel a little sick, and I feel like my body's been feeling a little sick for the last few days, and it's now starting to get on me. And so, all right, I found this link. So we'll see how I'm feeling by the end of it after I've talked for an hour. See how we're feeling, and then decide from there. I've been playing a shitload of League of Legends. That Sejuani jungle. I had to play support earlier today. Had no clue what I was doing. I'm sure my team was pissed off, but we forced a surrender, so probably a pro. Probably a pro. But it's all about that Sejuani jungle, baby. But yeah, we'll see how we're feeling afterwards, and then decide from there. But guys, let's do some housekeeping here at the top. This week is episode 50, the big 5-0 of PvA Radio, which is insane, guys. It's been almost a year since we've started this show, maybe a little over a year. I think we missed a couple weeks around Christmas, so over a year. Episode 50. It's going to be a special episode. Larry is out this week. He is working a week at camp. He is with 35 middle school children, and probably hating life right about this point. And so taking his seat is the co-host of Team Chat podcast, Jarrett Wilson, who is going to be coming on, bringing one of his topics to the show. If you guys have not checked out Team Chat podcast, you definitely need to. It's a great podcast. It's not news-based. It's more topical, but it's around gaming, and it's just two friends who you can tell really, really love video games. And just as much as they love playing video games, they love talking about video games. And I always talk about how, I'm good at talking about gaming news. I am terrible about talking about individual games and, talking about them from, a critical standpoint. And so I'm always just really impressed when I listen to a group of people who are good at that. And the Team Chat podcast. They're definitely good at it. Their new episodes come out every single Tuesday. You can find them on podcast services everywhere. So we're excited to have Jarrett on the show with us, and so that'll be here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. So you don't want to miss that. And then every other day of the week at 9 o'clock is the PvA Nightly Rundown over here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio. And if you can't catch us live, you can always catch us on youtube.com/PvA Radio the next day, where we break it out topic by topic, and we also post the full episode. So however you like to listen to us, we've got a way for you to do it, man. I'm excited that what we've been doing over on YouTube has been hella awesome because, look, our YouTube channel is small potatoes, just like our Twitch channel, small potatoes. But it's all about growth, right? You know, I've got some friends who are streamers, you know, and I've connected with streamers in the Twitch community, and I talk all the time about like realistic goal setting. Like, look at where you are now. Don't look at where you want to be necessarily. Like, obviously we all want to be at a point where, you know, streaming is supporting us, podcasting is supporting us, you know, our website's supporting us. Don't look ultimately at where you want to be. Look at where you are now and think, what is the next incremental step that we can take? And so I'm super excited because our views more than doubled over the last 30 days. Our watch time is almost double over the last 30 days. So this new strategy that we're using over on our Twitch on our YouTube channel is like definitely working. And so I encourage you guys to go over there, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and then you're gonna get at least 3 new videos a day, Monday through Friday. And yeah, if you don't want to sit through an hour of me talking about the gaming news or me, you know, summoning the spirit of Larry Johnson. What? Larry Johnson? The malevolent spirit of Larry Johnson guest starring on this show. If you don't want any of those shenanigans, you can just watch, you know, the segments that you want to watch over on the YouTube channel. So definitely go over there, hit the subscribe button. It means a ton to me if you do that. And I'm going to keep harping on that because I think what we're doing over there is really, really cool. And we've got a goal in mind, and I'm just going to set it out there, you know, a little accountability. I met with the guys with Larry and with Cody, and we set a goal that we want one of our podcasts to get over 100 listens by the end of, we set a time frame. I can't remember. So, you know, we're pushing hard for that, and I think that we're on pace to definitely do that with and hopefully sooner rather than later. We set a goal, you know, back in like March to become affiliates over here on Twitch, and we did that in like 3 weeks. It was awesome, and it's thanks to the people who engage with us over here on our Twitch channel. It's thanks to the people who watch us over on YouTube. You know, it all works together. It all comes together. Works together. My forehead's very shiny tonight. Oh, one more thing. So I went to bed last night dreading coming back to work, and not necessarily just because I had to go back to work, like, but I also had an in-person meeting scheduled with a client that I'm doing some support work for. Like, I'm not the marketing manager on the account. I'm helping out the marketing manager. I was like, oh my gosh, this meeting's it's like an hour and a half away. I do not want to come back to work and have this meeting an hour and a half. And so, like, I got all gussied up this morning, like my button-down shirt, my nice black shoes, my nice brown shoes, and was like, all right, I guess this is on. And I went to the coffee shop to get caught up on my emails. First thing I see, hey, Luke, meeting got postponed. No worries on that. I was like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, baby. I was certainly feeling it. I definitely was not looking forward to doing that. All right, guys. Well, let's jump into it. Get this week started like we get every week started, like we get every show started with games that are releasing today. I've still got to get through this, guys. I've still got to get past this Player 3 podcast stuff. We haven't done the Player 3 podcast in over a year, which is insane to think about. That's my old gaming podcast that I used to do with a group of friends that lived around here. Insane that it's been over a year, but we always, at the beginning of each of the 100 30 episodes that we did of that show, or 140 episodes, whatever. I would go, let's get this week started like we get every week started, with the releases of the week. And then Ben would go, releases of the week, clap, clap. And it's been over a year. And every time I go to start this show, I always want to say, let's get this week started like we get every week started. I guess it works today since it's Monday. But it's not the releases for the week. It's just the releases for today. Clap, clap. All right, guys. Well, as always, we take this story straight from Kotaku's The Week in Games, written by Zach Zweisen. Releasing today, we have Rise, Race the Future, coming out on Switch. We have Flutter Bombs coming out on PC. Life Ed coming out on PC. Elsinore coming out on PC and Mac. And then Beyond Two Souls coming out on PC. Those Quantic Dream games finally starting to head to that platform. And so, let's see. Is there anything here that I'm interested in looking at? All right, let's look up Elsinore, because I always like to look up at least one game from the releases. Let's look up Elsinore, see what we're working with here. Elsinore. Oh my gosh, I can't type today, guys. Elsinore game. All right, here's the launch trailer. Golden glitch. Oh. May help if I show you guys.
Everyone I know.
It's got a cool art style. Very hand drawn.
There's no way out of this.
It looks like claymation. Oh, okay, now it doesn't. This music thumps, man.
I've lived these 4 days over and over. Whether my friends and my family live or die.
Like, the art style of these cutscenes looks cool, but then when you get into the gameplay, it does not look good at all. Oh man, that girl just chucked herself off.
How will I find
Javert style.
this tragedy without losing myself?
Spoilers for Les Mis. Interesting. July 22nd, 2019, which is today, boys and girls. You can get that on PC and Mac as well. So those are your releases for today. Clap, clap. Change here real quick. All right, guys. Well, let's jump right into our news stories then for today. Let's start off with our first item on the list. This Nintendo JoyCon stick drift controversy that's been going on. Wanted to we haven't really touched on that in the PvA Nightly Rundown, and so want to get you guys caught up on this because it has been a couple days of developments on this story, and so more and more of these cases of the Joy-Con stick drift have been popping up lately. There was a Reddit thread that was like massively upvoted, massively commented on, that people were suffering through these issues as well. There was a big Kotaku piece that was written about it last week as well. Well, finally, Nintendo is going to be facing a class action lawsuit over the Joy-Con design issue. This is from James O'Connor over at VG247. It says, a law firm in the US is filing a lawsuit against Nintendo for the Joy-Con drifting issues. As reported by Go Nintendo, the law office of Kemichaels, Schwartz Kreiner, and Donaldson Smith. That's the most lawyer-sounding law firm name I've ever heard in my life. Is filing a class action lawsuit against Nintendo, citing a common problem for many users. Joy-Con drift is when the sticks on the left controllers start to, not the left, on the little controllers start to automatically drift in one direction after extended use. Sometimes this issue can be fixed with calibration, but many users report that their Joy-Cons have become unusable over time. CSK&D, which That's a much better abbreviation there. Was seeking testimonials from the public before moving forward and has now decided to file their suit. Quote, CSK&D has filed a class action lawsuit against Nintendo of America, Inc. for claims relating to alleged defects in the Joy-Con controllers that are part of the Nintendo Switch gaming consoles, end quote. Their website read, quote, the complaint filed in the United States District Court for the Western District of Washington alleges that the joysticks on Joy-Con controllers are defective, leading users to experience drift issues. The quote continues, specifically, the complaint alleges that the joystick on the Joy-Con controllers will automatically register movement when the joystick is not being controlled by the user and interfere with gameplay. The complaint, filed on behalf of purchasers of Switches and Joy-Con controllers, brings claims under various consumer protection statutes as well as various warranty and common law claims. It's always a little interesting to hear like video games speak in like legalese, and this isn't like heavy legalese, right? Like we're not having to parse through this to figure out what it says, but like it's kind of like when you see a news story like on a local news about a game, like back when local news were covering like Fortnite and shit. And it was just like, it's clear they didn't know anything that they were talking about. They were just reading off a teleprompter, something that somebody had written. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's outside of the context of like the gaming sphere, it always just sounds a little weird. But this has probably been one of the weirdest stories in terms of the way that people have been reacting to it. And so I constantly bring up the fact that like I'm a part of a bunch of gaming groups online and on Facebook, and I follow gaming Twitter really closely, and a bunch of different gaming subreddits as well, and just seeing people's reaction to this. I don't understand fanboyism. I never have, I never will. Like how we can be loyal to corporations who see us as dollars and cents and bottom line figures. Like at the end of the day, I have no clue why we get so like hell-bent on standing behind a logo, standing behind a piece of plastic. Like at the end of the day, we're the customers, right? And these corporations should be working to serve our best interest, and when they aren't, we need to be willing to call them out, right? And it doesn't make you less of a fan to call out when a company is doing something less than ideal. In fact, I think it makes you a better fan because you're constantly giving feedback to the companies that you give money to in order to hopefully, have them improve their products, right? But I've been seeing so many Nintendo apologists in this story, and probably some that are going to be in the comments of this video, talking about their own individual experience and saying like, I've never experienced the stick drift, and so this must be something that's just blown out of proportion. And it's like, look, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And given the fact that I have seen thousands of people talking about having this issue, may indicate that there's a problem here. Now look, I bought a Switch a few months after the console launched, and I have not had a single issue out of my Joy-Cons as of yet. But I also know that there was connectivity issues with the left Joy-Con at one point that ended up, having to get rectified. And despite the fact that I didn't personally, firsthand experience said issues, does not mean that the issues didn't exist. And we have this problem, not just in gaming, not just in this story, right? Just in the universe, to where if we have never experienced something firsthand, it must not exist. It is the classic Facebook argument that I see on all kinds of social issues. Well, I've lived for 50 years. I've never experienced racism. I'm like, yeah, you're a white dude in the South, man. Like, of course you haven't experienced racism. Or like, oh man, millennials talking about how they missed the boat on poverty. Missed the boat on the American prosperity and the dream, and they're having to live in poverty. Like, oh man, I grew up just fine and was able to make a way for myself without this, that, and that. And it's like, well, yeah, but just because you haven't experienced something does not mean that it doesn't exist. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist on some grand scale. And that's the case with this stick drift issue, right? There are enough people who are talking about this. The Kotaku article, the author of that talks about how they had they were starting to experience it while playing the new Fire Emblem game. They didn't really say anything about it, but thinking that they had just, maybe done something to their console. But when they brought it up in their office, 4 other people at Kotaku were like, oh yeah, we've experienced that. Yeah, we've experienced that issue as well. And there's not a ton of people probably that work at Kotaku, and they probably didn't talk to, it probably wasn't like a comprehensive polling of everybody, exhaustive, so it is an issue, right? And as a company who is asking you to spend big money on these items, I mean, Joy-Cons are $80 brand new without a discount, right? I know there's been sales going on, but like there have been, these things are $80 to purchase, right? The least that I should be able to expect is that they're going to work for more than a few months before breaking. And a lot of these people have said, hey, I bought these Joy-Cons 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and they're already starting to give me these issues. And that's unacceptable. And Nintendo needs to be called out for those things. They need to go back to the drawing board on their design. And if they've broken any laws, then they need to be held accountable for that. I think about like the original PS4 controllers, right? They had the thumbstick issue where like the rubber padding on the thumbstick would wear away. I am not hard on my controllers at all. At all. Every single controller I own, they have a dock for them. I don't throw my controllers. The most I'll do is like, if I get mad, I'll like give them a little squeeze, right? Like I'll pick up, like if I'm playing something and it makes me mad, I'll do that, like push my hands together. But outside of that, like I am not rough on my controllers. And so, but with the PlayStation 4 controller, my original one, I bought it from GameStop, right? And I bought it with the 1-year warranty on it because I was stupid. Never buy the warranty at GameStop, especially if it's only 1 year and it's a brand new console, because almost every single brand new console is going to come with at least a 1-year manufacturer's warranty on it. But anyway, and the grip on my thumbstick started to come off, and when I took it back to GameStop, they were like, "Yeah, you can just use the warranty that you purchased on it." And I had to use my warranty, but it was like that was an issue that tons of people were having, and they went back to the drawing board and they readdressed the way that they went about coating the thumbsticks. Like they changed the material, and so yeah, I think we as consumers have a responsibility to call this stuff out. And I think it's a pivotal time for Nintendo to take care of this. Not just in this legal sense of making this, making this problem go away with a settlement or, however they're going to deal with this class action lawsuit. But they're about to come out with the Nintendo Switch Lite. Now, let me pull up a picture to remind you guys of why this matters. And while this is loading, I'm going to move this light. There we go. I had a shiny, shiny forehead. I still need to angle that up. I'll fix it here in just a second. But so the Nintendo Switch Lite is coming out, right? I'm going to pull this picture up to refresh our memories about a design choice that they have made with this console, right? Notice how this is a shitty picture. Here we go. Notice how the Joy-Cons are fully attached, right? And so if they're using the same thumbstick technology as they are on the regular Nintendo Switch, if a thumbstick on my regular Switch breaks, I'm out $80 because I got to replace the Joy-Cons, right? If it breaks on this, however, right? I'm out $200 because I've got to get the whole system replaced, right? And see, the other thing is like they're making people pay shipping charges to send these back to get them dealt with. Other people are advising like, hey, there's a way for you to be able to open up your system and fix this thing. And it's like, look, if I spend $300 on something, and I'm talking about the regular Switch right now, if I spend $300 on something, I should be able to have the reasonable expectation that I am not going to have to break this thing open within the first 4 months of me purchasing it. You know, think about like the Red Ring of Death issue, right? There were certainly some at homebrew, like there were like homebrewed fixes that you could do to fix the Red Ring of Death, but you should not be expected to do that when you spend the kind of money that you're going to have to spend to purchase these things. This is a big moment for Nintendo to make right what they've done wrong, but also to the further this goes, if this continues to be a story and continues to be an issue, especially as we get closer and closer to the September launch date of the Nintendo Switch Lite, it may possibly start to impact people's excitement and the sales of this console. When people are like, hey, the regular Nintendo, the original Nintendo Switch has some joystick issues, and you may want to avoid this console until you're absolutely sure that this isn't going to suffer from that too. I don't know. But if you're one of those Nintendo apologists that's going on to forums telling people that they're babies and they need to fucking suck it up, or that this isn't a real issue, like, grow up, man. Grow up. Problems like this exist, and your fanboyism isn't helping anybody. Nintendo's not going to see your comment and send you free copies of games or anything, or make you the next freaking, CEO of Nintendo because you came to their defense in their time of need. Like, it's a real problem. It's a real issue. Multiple people are having it, and it needs to be dealt with. All right. Moving on. Next story on the list. Blizzard has revealed their next hero, Hero 31, and his name is Sigma. It's from Nathan Grayson. It says, after a series of teases that culminated in the apparent demise of Overwatch director Jeff Kaplan, Blizzard has revealed the game's latest hero. His name is Sigma, and he has the power to see math. Also, perhaps related to that, he can control gravity. Today, Blizzard introduced Sigma in an animated story trailer. Quote, "Gravity is a harness," end quote, Sigma says in the trailer. Quote, "I have harnessed the harness," end quote. But that wasn't enough for him, so he decided to try and double harness the power of a black hole. That, however, appears to have driven him mad, or at least stuffed his brain so full that it's an overflowing bowl of mashed potatoes. So yeah, we can we're gonna pull this up, but we're not gonna play the audio or anything. We're just gonna let this roll. Oh, did my headset turn back on? Interesting. So yeah, this is here's the trailer for it. I've watched this a couple times. We finally have a bad guy tank. We have a Talon tank, and I'm very excited about it. I'm hoping that he has some more mobility, because right now, we've got Hamster, and we've got who's like a hybrid main tank, off tank kind of deal. And then we have Winston, who's really our only mobile main tank, because then you have Reinhardt and Orisa. And so I'm really hoping that he has some mobility to him. People are number one, it's insane to me the amount of things that people can speculate on and get absolutely right. Like, people knew this guy was going to be Sigma, he was going to be a tank, he was going to control gravity. They've like called certain parts of his story. I've played hundreds and hundreds of hours of Overwatch, but I have never really been much into the lore of it. And so I'm not one of those guys who can like dig in and find these Easter eggs that give you hints about, what's going to be happening. And so a lot of people called this, and I've seen a lot of speculation that his ult is going to be a time slow, that he'll be able to release his ult and it'll slow the enemy team, and your team will be able to, take advantage of it. I'm really curious to see how they work in shielding to him if he is supposed to be a main tank, because it's kind of a big piece of being a main tank. I don't know. I'm always excited for a new hero. I'm a tank main, and therefore I get, really excited when new tanks come in. I am not a great Hammond player, and so the last new tank that I could really get into, right, was Orisa. And his character design is just really cool. The whole mad scientist vibe, leaning into that. I'm here for it, man. I think that I think it's going to be cool. Between this and the 222 lock, I think the Overwatch community is kind of like a buzz right now. Now is a great time to be an Overwatch fan. So I've been giving 222 a try, right? and I want to, kind of give my thoughts on this. Been given 222 a try in the PTR. And I am just here to say, guys, I fucking love it. All right. I fucking love it. It is so good. It is so good dropping into a game and knowing that I'm playing with people who want to play the roles that they're playing. It's so good dropping into a game and not having to worry about, oh man, do I have 4 people who just love to play McCree on this team or love to play Reaper? Or, more rarely so, 4 people who love to play Mercy? And look, some of this is because of the PTR. It's the PTR, and PTR games don't matter, and your SR in PTR doesn't matter. Which at the end of the day, does your SR in regular competitive matter? But the toxicity in the community has been like super low. I haven't seen much of anybody getting flamed. I've played probably about 20 games on the PTR. Nobody really getting flamed in the chat or in voice chat. I've been queuing as a tank, and I find games like instantly. Like as soon as I press it, 2 seconds later, I'm in a game. Watched some people queuing DPS earlier today, and they were like, 2-3 minutes long. I think support's a little bit shorter than that. I don't know. I think those queue times are hopefully going to remain on the shorter side the more players that get thrown in. It really just depends on how off-kilter DPS is going to be. Because if you look at the estimated times, it says DPS is over 10 minutes in the client when you're like selecting your roles. But no, it's just really cool being able to play the game the way that it should be played, the way that every time you get in a game, people are wanting it to be played. And this whole idea of like, oh, it stifles creativity, blah, 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 blah. Like, I agree with that debate from the pro scene. I think it stifles some of the creativity that could be seen there. But as a guy who plays in gold, I don't fucking care, right? I don't fucking care about about maintaining creativity because most of the time the creativity is them trying to be like, we're going to run Hog Moira and 4 DPS. And it's like, no, at that point you're just throwing, right? Like I am all for this lock. I feel like I'm playing Overwatch the way that it was intended to be played. I'm not suffering through endless toxicity from people who aren't playing the roles that they want, aren't being able to play the characters that they want. And so I think it's going to be a great thing for the community. And throw Hero 31 in there with Sigma releasing. And I just think even more so, like, now is a great time to be an Overwatch fan. I don't know how many new people it's going to pull back in, but I've talked to a number of people who've fallen out of Overwatch who are like, man, now with roll queue, I'm thinking about jumping back in. And people always love to jump back in when a new hero comes out as well. I imagine the week that Sigma releases, queuing as a tank is going to suck. Queuing as a tank will probably suck. But it'll also be good, right? Like, I'm not going to be loading into the game and like tap 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 on my mouse trying to get the new hero. Like, it would be me and one other person who would be able to get that to be able to play with Sigma. And so yeah, roll queue is awesome, guys. If you're an Overwatch fan or were an Overwatch fan and you've fallen out of the game, now is a great, well, not now, you got to wait till August 13th for it to come to the live patch, but if you're on PC, you can download the PTR, and now is just a great time to jump into it. Highly recommend it. 222, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Next item on the list, baby. Should Disney consider purchasing Activision? One investor believes so. This is from Joseph Schaffner over at DualShockers. Never seen that name. He doesn't have an image. Is he possibly a new contributor over here? Also, I realize I'm not capturing my mouse, so when I circle stuff, you can't see it. But Joseph Schaffner says Activision Blizzard Inc. has seen its share prices drop more than 40% in the past year. To some, this represents a good buying opportunity, and there's no greater buyer in the entertainment industry than Walt Disney Co. You guys may have heard of them. Have a little cinematic universe called the Mickey U. Just announced the next phase of movies. I don't know anything about the MCU. Nick Lycoris of the investment firm Gerber Kawasaki reportedly sees benefits between Activision's esport business and Disney's TV networks, and Disney has plenty of character properties that could be leveraged further. Disney's checkered past in the world of video games may put them off. However, Disney Infinity, for instance, was an ambitious attempt to enter the world of video games, but this project ended in costly failure. And so I don't think that this is something that realistically is going to happen, but I do think it's an interesting thought exercise. Like, look, Disney has dominated the movie space for years, right? They scooped up Marvel and have done tremendous things with their franchises. They've been in the TV business, and with the MCU, they're gonna double down on the TV business. They got Disney Plus, their streaming service coming out. Like, they're gonna be dominating the streaming side of things as well. Like, it makes sense for Disney to want to jump into gaming, and they've done that, right? They've done that to an extent. Insomniac Spider-Man game. We have the Avengers game that's coming out from Crystal Dynamics. And so they're in there to an extent, and they've said in the past, like, look, we think within the video game space, it's a place we want to be, but we want to be there licensing our IP rather than publishing our IP. But I think this is interesting, less from the development and publishing side of things, and more interesting from the esports side of things, right? Right now, Disney owns ABC. They own ESPN. ESPN was the first cable television station that became synonymous with wall-to-wall sports coverage, right? They were trailblazers in that space, with Sports Center, with live broadcast sports, with highlights, with news coverage. Like, they were trailblazers. And at this point now, right, there's tons of different cable sports networks. You've got Fox Sports, you've got CBS Sports, you've got, each and every league has their own network, the NHL network, NFL network, NBA TV. Like, ESPN was the pioneer of that, right? Esports doesn't have anything like that right now, but yet I'm on Twitch all the time. There's always an esport event going on. It does not matter what time of day it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Like, I can find an esports event that is on. And I would love a centralized place, right, to consume esports stuff, because, and I don't know, like, it'd be interesting to talk to the guys from Project Esports, like Andrew Nimsgren and Dylan Beal, about this idea. Like, I don't know if I'm in the minority of esports fans where I like to watch a bunch of different esports. I'm only knowledgeable about a couple of them. Like, I feel like I know a ton about the Overwatch League. I'm getting into the NBA 2K League, to the point where I really want to start getting to know it. And I've been watching a shitload of professional League of Legends, to the point where I feel like I can have at least a decently informed conversation about it. But then I also watch Dota. I watch Rainbow Six. I like to watch Rocket League. I watch the Call of Duty tournament this weekend. I like to orbit around esports in general. And so I wonder if I'm in the minority of fans. Like, do more fans just say, okay, I'm a League fan and I just keep up with League because I play League all the time, or I'm a Dota fan because for the same reasons. Because if there's a lot of people who are like me, having this hub network that I could go to, and look, I'm way out in left field with my speculation. To be To be transparent and fair, I don't think this is what Disney would want to do. But I'm saying they own ESPN, who has the model of this for sports, and I would love to see it in esports, where like I can tune in and they're gonna take me around the leagues, like with a sports center, like an esports center. Please, for the love of God, do not call it esports center. But like, hey, we're gonna bounce around highlights from between Dota and this Rainbow Six, because one of the difficult things when you're a guy like me who just orbits around esports is you don't have any context, right? Like, I've been watching Dota because the international is coming up. It's got this gigantic ass prize pool. Like, I only somewhat understand what's going on in Dota. One of the great things that SportsCenter does is it tells great stories. It tells great sports stories, or it used to. I haven't watched SportsCenter in years. And it provided great context for the games I would be watching later that day, even for leagues that I didn't quite keep up with as much, like the NHL or, you know, like soccer, things like that. It could really create a moment just in the way that it covered it. And it would be really cool to have an esports hub that does something like that, right? So, but also, like, look, esports is just lucrative at this point. Disney already kind of partners with Blizzard with the Overwatch League. They air the Overwatch League on Disney XD every single week. There's a few games that air there. They've been putting the like stage finals on ABC. I think a lot of the playoffs are actually going to be on main ESPN and ABC. They've done World of Warcraft Classic. So yeah, there's a lot of like, and then with like Call of Duty is about to launch their localized league that's similarly structured to the Overwatch League. Like, there's a lot of opportunities here for Disney to become like the broadcasting spearhead of esports. And not to say that they'd be the first to broadcast esports. Like, esports has been on television before. A lot of it have been on Disney properties. They've taken that risk. But to really like define what it is to cover esports, because I think what we've seen a lot of is like trying to replicate how we broadcast and cover traditional sports. And while that works to an extent, there's another element to it, right? And if anybody could go up against Amazon and Twitch for that space, it'd be Disney. It would definitely be Disney. It would make it a little tricky with Overwatch, because I think Overwatch has an exclusive like streaming, like free streaming agreement with Twitch that runs through maybe 2020, 2021. So like they would have to figure out what that would look like for Disney XD, not Disney XD, for Disney Plus. But I think it would be cool from the esports side of things. I would love to see a place where like, oh man, this channel is just live 24/7. I can go and hear people talk about esports without having to like, because I have it on a lot when I'm like just working. Like today I had some Rainbow Six tournament on while I was like doing reports or something, you know? So I don't think it's ever going to happen because of those quotes about, you know, because if you're buying Activision and Blizzard, you want to take advantage of their publishing abilities. You want to take advantage of their game studios as well. And just the fact that Disney's CEO has been quoted as saying, you know, we think that we're better off licensing rather than publishing. I just don't see him straying too far from that. But it's a fun thought exercise. Moving on. Next story on the list, Rainbow Six Quarantine will be out before April 2020. This is from Sharif Syed over at VG247. It says, although Ubisoft is yet to officially announce a release date for Rainbow Six Quarantine, the publisher revealed roughly when it expects it to release. Rainbow Six Quarantine was announced at E3 back in June as an early 2020 game. Unfortunately, Ubisoft revealed very little in the way of gameplay details and really anything that pertains to a release date. However, in the publisher's most recent earnings call via Game Informer, CEO Yves Guillemot said Quarantine will be out before the end of the fiscal year. In other words, expect it at some point between January and late March. this isn't like huge news, right? We've known that this is going to be early 2020. That gives you 6 months of a window. We've now narrowed that down to 3 months of a window. I really appreciate Ubisoft's strategy when it comes to E3 because I would say 90% of the time, outside of like Skull and Bones and Beyond Good and Evil, the games that they talk about at E3 we see before the next E3. I think like 2 years ago, I made a milkshake bet for my prediction that every game we saw revealed at Ubisoft's E3 will come out before the next E3, and I think I got that right. Maybe that may have been like 3 years ago. I don't know. I've been doing this a long time, guys. A long ass time. But I appreciate that they show a game on stage and then they release it. You know? Yes, we have a handful of them that we have to wait around for, but they're really transparent when the games are far off. Like Beyond Good and Evil, they were very clear, like, we just want to let you know we're working on it kind of deal. Skull and Bones is an outlier in the sense that, like, I don't know how many people really want that game or especially wanted it the way that it was originally pitched, of just like, it's a pirate sim, you're just sailing around on a boat. I'm interested to see how that gets re-revealed. I'm super interested in Rainbow Six, though. Rainbow Six Quarantine. Because we're going to have these two games within the same franchise coexisting alongside of one another, with them still being pedal to the metal in the Siege scene. Like a couple months ago, Ubisoft came out and said, like, look, we're not going to release a sequel to Siege going into the next generation because we just want to carry over what we've been doing with Siege onto the next generation. Make it, cross-compatible however we need to, and just continue on because we feel like we have something special there. I'm trying to think of another gaming example, and maybe you can help me out in the comments below if you're watching this over on YouTube or if you're hanging out over here on Twitch. Has there ever been a time where two games in the same franchise have existed side by side with one another with equal support, right? Like, I guess you could say like Halo Wars and Halo have been like that to an extent, but those are like so different, right? Like, one's an RTS, one's a first-person shooter. These are both going to be first-person shooters. One's just going to be PvP, one's going to be PvE. Like, how do you continue to message those things separately? Because at first, until I went back and rewatched all of Ubisoft's conference, because I just had it on in the background while I was at work, I was like, wait, so is Rainbow Six Quarantine, like, is it a sequel to Siege? Is it like an expansion for Siege? Is it going to be like an in-game mode for Siege? Because I knew that they were wanting to stick with it. And then it turns out like, no, this is going to be a whole separate game. And they're going to just support these two things parallel with one another. Like, that's an interesting strategy to me, And I know a lot of people just refer to Rainbow Six Siege as just Siege at this point. It's not, oh, let's go play Rainbow Six. It's, hey, let's go play Siege, which I started playing yesterday. Super fucking fun. I don't know why I waited so long. The game's awesome. But yeah, so it's coming out before March 2020, before April 2020. And it looks awesome, fighting this alien infection that's come down. Seems a little out of the universe for Ubisoft. I mean, not for Ubisoft, but for Rainbow Six especially. But they do tactical so well. Like, watching pro play of that game is awesome because I always grew up wanting a game that needed like tactical play. And I would always kind of force my friends to play tactically if we were going to play those games cooperatively when I was a kid, because that's just the experience that I wanted. And they've really created that with Rainbow Six Siege. Like, you have to play that game really tactically in order to be successful. And I'm excited to see how they apply that to a PvE environment, because I don't think anyone has particularly nailed that, because there's always a way to cheese the system. But I think they understand that what they have that's special in Siege is its tactical nature, and they're gonna want to carry that over into Rainbow Six Quarantine as well. All right. Next item and last item on the list for today. The Death Stranding box art has been revealed, including the special edition steel cases from our boy Eddie Makic or Maku. I think I saw somewhere where it's supposed to be pronounced Maku. Eddie Maku over at GameSpot. I don't need to read this. I'm just gonna pull the tweets up. Here's the official artwork for Death Stranding. My cat just knocked something over because he's a jerk. I don't know. It looks like everything we've seen from Death Stranding, right? Looks pretty generic if you ask me. Like zoomed in picture on Norman Reedus in one of his costumes, and I wish they'd have done something with like the floating men from the first trailer reveal or something like that. Like, I don't know. This doesn't blow me away. So that's the regular case, and here's the Steelbook again. Like, I don't know. These don't move me all that much. Not that I'm ever particularly moved by box art anymore, because I don't buy physical games. But I just feel like, and I think that they said that Kojima designed these himself, and I would just expect him to be a little more like out there. Maybe there's some Easter eggs on here that I'm missing, but at the end of the day, like, I just think they could have done something cooler. Really missed an opportunity there. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for the PvA Nightly Rundown, actually. We did it. 50 minutes. A 50-minute episode, boys and girls. This has been the PvA Nightly Rundown. We do this every single weeknight other than Wednesdays over here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio, running you through all of the gaming news that you may have missed throughout the day so that you don't look like a fucking idiot at the water cooler tomorrow when somebody's like, can't wait for them to release the box art for Death Stranding, and you just stand there like an idiot like, yeah, me too. You can be like, no, bitch! It's out! Here it is. It's underwhelming. Just kidding. Don't call your coworkers the B word. Don't call anybody the B word. It's not a good word. Doo-doo head. There's a good one. That one's free. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna get out of here. End it for our YouTube audience. If you want to watch this show live, you can do it on twitch.tv/PvA Radio. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below. And until tomorrow night, we love you. Goodbye.